Time once again to go team to team, presented by Cigna, proud partner of the Arizona Cardinals. Mike Reiss covers the Patriots for ESPN.com, and right now covering a 4-6 team. Mike, it's been a long time since we've seen the playoffs, or since they've seen the Patriots outside of the playoff picture this late into a season.
That's right, and you have to go back to 2008 for the last time they didn't qualify for the playoffs, and the last time they've been under 500 this late in a season. I mean, you're going back to the early part of Bill Belichick's tenure, and you know he started here in the year 2000, so a different type of year here for the Patriots.
Now we know who's not on the team, and we know that there were 8 players who opted out before the season because of COVID-19. Outside of all of that and all the changes, what hasn't been happening with this Patriots team that we've seen over the past 2 decades?
Well, if we're going to look at the story of this season for the Patriots, I would say you probably got to go right to week 4. They were 2-1 at the time, and they really could have been 3-0. Remember that week 2 loss at Seattle when Cam was stopped on a final play at the 1-yard line? They're looking good at that point. And the whole discussion in New England at that juncture in time was like, hey, maybe they can sign Cam Newton to an extension. They found their guy to replace Tom Brady. And like a couple days later, Cam gets a positive test for COVID. And it sort of turned everything upside down. You know, their game that week against the Chiefs was postponed a day. Cam obviously didn't play. They lose. Then they lost like 2 weeks of practice after that. And they had a 4-game losing streak. A lot of turnovers. And so I think the combination of the COVID interruption and the lack of ball security, sort of sloppy with the ball, really sort of turned their season upside down. They've been trying to recover ever since.
On Cam Newton, last week we saw him have one of his better passing days, over 300 yards through the air. So I guess what to expect this week, that Cam Newton or the Cam Newton that is leading one of the better rushing attacks in the NFL?
So the Patriots are a game plan offense. They'll switch it up from week to week. So just when you think that it's going to be ground and pound, like last week, they were going up against the Texans rush defense that ranked last in the league. So you're thinking to yourself, they're going to run the ball. And the Texans really devoted a lot of resources to take the run away. So they turned to the pass, and they moved the ball okay in the passing game. But I think their identity is really as a running team. That's when they're at their best, and they can set up play-action passing opportunities.
Now the loss of Rex Burkhead, how does that affect things? And I know Sony Michel is coming back, although he was inactive last week. Is it just plug Michel back into that running back position?
So a little bit, definitely. I think it's probably a 1-for-1 exchange, but they're different players. One of the things Rex really adds great value to the Patriots is his versatility. So you might see him on early downs as sort of a backup to Damian Harris, their number 1 back. But you could also see him on third down. You know, he's a very good in blitz pickup and also catching the football. So then you see him on fourth down, playing on special teams, and not something we can overlook, because the last time the Cardinals came up here to Foxborough, a blocked punt was a huge part of that game, actually right around the area where Rex would play on the wing there on the punt protection team. So they lose a very valuable contributor really on all 4 downs with Rex going out, but Sony should be up for this game.
Yeah, that game 8 years ago, a crazy game that the Cardinals were somehow able to come away with a win. One more on the offense and a couple of receivers with Arizona ties. One, Damiere Byrd, who was with the Cardinals last season, and then N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. How have those 2 players kind of fit in? I know for Harry, it's his 2nd season.
So start with Damiere. Obviously, you guys know, great kid. I mean, just like super soft-spoken, and really has been thrust into a starting role here. And, you know, to be honest, like maybe playing a little bit above, the level you'd like him to be. You'd probably like him to be your 3rd or 4th receiver, but he's really been their number 1 or 2 in terms of playing time. Great speed coming off a career high game last week against the Texans. So he's been reliable, dependable, really everything they could ask for. But overall, their receiving core is underwhelming from a sort of personnel standpoint. If you're looking at, trying to defend them. And N'Keal, is an interesting story. You're drafted in the first round, 32nd overall. So you're really right on the edge of the first and second round, yet you get those first round expectations that come with you. And I think, so right there's a level of disappointment among some Patriots fans that N'Keal hasn't broken out, like we've seen with DK Metcalf in Seattle or AJ Brown in Tennessee, other receivers from that draft class. Now, he had an injury as a rookie that cost him half the season. And once you get behind, especially in this offense, it's hard to catch up. Just this year, he's caught up and Cam loves him, but it's been a little bit of a struggle, to get back up to speed for N'Keal.
Let's flip it over to the defense. 2 weeks ago, the Patriots did a very good job bottling up Lamar Jackson. I don't know how much weather was a factor in that contest. Different story last week against Deshaun Watson, and now you've got Kyler Murray coming to town. How do you think Bill Belichick might try to stop Murray if indeed Murray is what we expect him to be as far as with that shoulder injury?
Yeah, the players have been talking about it. Similar challenge, to Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson in terms of not letting him escape the pocket and extend plays. Easier said than done, but that's what they tried to do with Deshaun, and Deshaun just picked him apart. It was trying to make him play the quarterback position, essentially traditionally, from the pocket, hitting your guys downfield. So I would expect something similar from the Patriots, where they want to, limit the threat of Kyler with his legs, almost keep him hemmed in there and make him play quarterback.
Mike, last question, and we appreciate your time here. The Belichick-Kingsbury storyline here in Arizona certainly has captured a lot of people's attention. How big of a deal is it on your end of this game this week?
Well, it's a fun one, and it's probably the most interesting storyline of the game. I'd say from a Patriots perspective, probably the bigger one is if they want to sniff the playoffs, they probably can't lose the rest of the way. So it's how are they going to beat the Cardinals, get to 5-6, and then they got 5 games left where they're coming out west for back-to-back games against the Rams and the Chargers. That's sort of the bigger one out here, but from a human interest story, there is a lot of interest in Cliff and in his time here with the Patriots.
Mike Reiss covers the Patriots for ESPN.com. Again, Mike, appreciate it, and best of luck this season.
Thanks for having me, and I wish I could get some oregano's pizza.